everybody, it's Haley of Mothchild Cosplay, and sorry about not vlogging last week. I pushed it off until Monday because of the holiday. Then Monday came and some very, very unfortunate news broke that Stanley had passed away. And the idea of putting a vlog out just didn't seem right. So a lot and very little got done. A lot in the sense that I'd say with wolves, which is the main costume I'll be talking about, I'm probably about 40% of the way done with that entire thing. Like, we're flying through that. Anna Henrietta, nothing was done. I'm still waiting for fabric to arrive for Anna Henrietta, and once that arrives, I'll be able to start doing stuff. But for now, it's just a bit of a waiting game. So last time that I told you guys about how Wolves was going, all I had to show was the loincloth and the tail. The only really changes that have been done to those is the tail has been stained purple and the skirt has had like purple airbrushed onto it. I'm really, really happy with the color of the tail. As you can see, I also airbrushed a little bit of black onto the end because, I don't know, it just seemed right to have a nice little fade to a darker purple and then black. I stained my faux fur using a mixture of 75% rubbing alcohol and whatever amount of ink that I chose. I chose like a violet sort of ink, and I just mixed the two into like a spray bottle and sprayed the crap out of this thing, and I let it dry overnight in my garage. It all dried. I just went outside and I brushed everything out, and I made sure that I was happy with the way the colors were looking. I did some more spritzes towards the bottom here to get that more vibrant color, but ultimately to get the vibrancy that this has, I had to whip out my airbrush. And when I did the airbrushing on the tail, I figured, alright, everything's out, I might as well airbrush some purple onto the loincloth while I'm here too. And voila! I didn't, it's not really sort of any science or specific way that I did this. I literally just kind of airbrushed stuff until I felt like it looked right, and I'm really, really happy with the fade that I got. I put some sort of pinky undertones into this because I feel like in the Merkwolf there is like, the purple is more of a pink-based purple than a blue one. I don't really know how to describe it. And then that pretty much wraps it up for what happened down there. I also managed to get the belts and the hip armor all put together for the wolves as well. This is the most basic of the belts, and as you can tell, like, it's not super high-tech or anything. I literally took some vinyl, painted it brown, and glued on some bias tape strips, and then the same for this other belt. But of course you guys can tell there is some armor attached here. I can go ahead and take this off for you. It's attached just using Velcro. I figured it might just be a little bit easier to store it that way as two separate pieces instead of just one. The coolest thing about the bottom half of the costume though is these leg warmer style things. It's like fur, and then I have wolf paws on my feet, and I actually finished those up this week, like really early in the week. They're my favorite part of the costume so far. I'm so incredibly happy and excited about how these came out. I'll probably insert like a little clip of me walking around in them because they're like so cool. So here's one of my little leg pieces. As you guys can tell, there's a gradient from a lighter gray into a darker gray, and this continues into the boots. The boots are a darker gray, and I want them to kind of fade into a black, but I'm probably going to be taking the airbrush to really make that happen. These were really, really cool to make, and I actually dived a little bit into historical costuming techniques. And in my mind, I was trying to figure out for a little bit, like, how am I gonna do this? Maybe I could put like lycra or something in the seam, and just to like add a little bit of stretch so I could bend my legs comfortably. And as I was thinking of all these ideas, I ended up remembering, like, wait, a friend of mine gave me their copy of the Tudor Tailor. So I went in there and I looked, and they had a tutorial for how to make men's hose. From back when they didn't have knit fabrics, a lot of their stuff wasn't stretched. So how did they get around this, you know? So I went and took the book and I looked through it, and turns out what they did to make stockings is they would cut the fabric on the bias, and they were very, very, very particular about measurements. And in my mind, I was also thinking, like, man, how does this stuff stay up? And the reason that it does is because they were so particular about measurements, the things tended to kind of like mold to the wearer's body. And so I sat down, I measured out my legs, I measured my ankle, the biggest part of my calf, my knee, and then around my thigh where the thing was going to end, and of course the total length of my leg warmer. and I produced a pattern that way. And it was kind of nerve-wracking at first, but that's why we always buy extra fabric, is just in case of mistakes. But in the end, I'm incredibly happy with how these turned out. I think it's really important that as costumers, we look back to techniques that we might not think are relevant to today's struggles, because people back then really had to make do with what they had, kind of like what cosplayers have to do now, and we can learn so much from them. All that aside, I guess now I should go ahead and show you my feet and talk to you about those. I'm really excited about these. They're so fucking cool. So here they are. I think you guys might be able to tell. I have 1, 2, 3 distinct little wolf toes on my paw. These are so fucking cool. I'm so happy with how these turned out and how they're looking and just everything about them. So what I ended up doing was I took those shoes that my friend Kia gave me and I wrapped them in plastic wrap and then painter's tape, and then I made a pattern from it, much like we do for armor. And then I went and I made a boot cover out of faux fur. Now the only thing that I did differently was I added a little bit extra room to the front, not a whole lot, and that way whenever I put the boot cover onto the shoe, I could put some batting in there, and the batting would help shape the toes. Now the way that I got these very distinct toe lines, which I'm actually making them even more distinct by using an airbrush, I, obviously patted the front, and then I took thread and I pulled it. I would like sew one at the top, and then I pulled it really tight, and then sewed it at the bottom. So if you look, there is thread that just kind of runs the length there. I used upholstery thread just to make sure that it would last. Upholstery thread is much sturdier than what you would generally use for clothing, and it worked out really well. I'm incredibly happy with these. The only parts that are not faux fur is I used some flannel for the back and flannel for the bottom. The bottom will eventually be getting, I don't really know what to call it, like sole rubber. Kamui Cosplay uses them for her shoe covers, and I'm going to be ordering some off Amazon. It's a little slippery on the floor. I don't really want to be slipping and sliding around in these. Like, I'm already going to break my legs as it is. I don't need to break my legs even more. Thanks. But yeah, these are fucking awesome. I'm so excited about them. They're really cool. I have some little claws that are actually drying out in the garage right now that I'm going to be painting and then gluing on here just to make these even more prominent, that they're like little paws. And then, like I said, I'm going to be airbrushing detailings down there, and I'm really excited about this. When I first made the boot cover though, I was a little unsure as to whether or not I liked it. I ended up taking Justin's electric razor and shaving the fur down, and I got the fur pretty short in some spots. That definitely made me a lot more confident with the shape of these and the way that they looked and everything, because with the fur being really long, it just looked a little too unruly. And after I did the shaving on this, I actually took the electric shaver to the leg pieces and shaved those down a little bit, and the tail, and kind of shaped things just to help make sure that I got all the proportions and the look and the feel that I wanted. And so far I'm really happy with the result. In general, I'm still really excited about this project. There's not a whole lot to really talk about, because like I said, I genuinely didn't get a whole lot done. But now it's time to get down and dirty again and get faux fur everywhere, and I'm just so ready. I'm so excited. So stay tuned. I'm hoping that next week I will have the entirety of the bottom done, like all the small details and everything, and the top, and then after that, all that'll be left will be like the big headpiece, which I'm still really excited about. I'm still debating if I want to make the headpiece smaller than what it currently is, or I'm okay with the size. But yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching my video. Thank you so much for joining me on my little weird cosplay journey. I'm thinking that soon I'll try and get my hands on a webcam and I'll start actually like streaming my work through Twitch or something like that. Even maybe YouTube Live. I've heard that their streaming thing is a thing, that it exists. I don't know. We might also look into some other platforms, something that's maybe up and coming. We'll see. I've never really live streamed before, so it'll definitely be an experience. Regardless, I hope you guys will maybe like and subscribe and comment. Stick around next week. We'll have another vlog out on Sunday. And if I don't see you Sunday, maybe I'll see you at a convention, like KatsuCon. Maybe Delilah will go. Can you say goodbye, Delilah? What a good cat.